today. All I can say is I am truly honored to be sitting in front of a real icon, a guy that has a heart of pure gold. Okay, and you're gonna see there are some funny moments, so you never know what Mr. Danny may say, but he's so sweet and he's amazing, and his talent is so overwhelming. So here we go, guys. Listen. With over 40 years of making music from behind the glass and behind the drums, Danny Jones is one of the most seasoned and soulful names in the business. From the heart of Memphis to stages across the country, Danny has worn many hats: Grammy winning producer, world touring drummer, trusted engineer, studio owner, and educator. His career is a masterclass in versatility, longevity, and pure musical instinct. He's worked alongside legends like Allen Toussaint, Patti LaBelle, Etta James, Al Green, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Pitbull, the Neville Brothers, and countless others. That's like a pinch of his resume. Countless others shaping timeless sounds while always staying rooted in his authenticity, into his authenticity and his feel. Whether he's mixing Al Green's greatest hits in Dolby Atmos, backing up a blues icon on the road, or mentoring the next wave of talent, Danny brings the same level of integrity, warmth, and vision to every single note. Now listen, he just recently won soundtrack co-writer and producer, recently just like in March. So you just literally won an award like yesterday. Literally.
From this point, less than a week ago.
Less than a week ago. Danny Jones, y'all. Oh my God. I mean, I'm getting tongue twisted, tongue tied, but I mean, who wouldn't when you're reading such a lengthy resume? But again, that was just like not even a glimpse into your journey in music.
Well, that all sounded nice. Thank you.
Oh, I did my best, but I mean, there's so much more where that comes from, Danny. I always say thank you to many guests, but y'all, this is like a million thank yous for everything you've done in the music, in music history, not even the industry, the history of music. Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome.
Let's talk about what's the first thing you do when you walk into a studio? Like, what's the first thing that Danny Jones gets into?
Well, it depends on why I'm there.
Okay.
If I'm there to, uh, if I'm hired as a session drummer, first thing I look around the room. I mean, because I know about studios, and I look around for the equipment in the room, kind of get a feel for how it sounds and how it looks. The kind of the vibe of the room, and then again, depending what reason I'm there for, it's like if it's drumming, then I look at the drums. If I'm engineering, then of course I'm going to look at the recording equipment. If I'm producing, I'll look at everything.
Mm-hmm.
I just soak it all in, pretty quickly.
Okay.
So some rooms feel better, than others. I've worked. I don't have an exact counting, but I mean, many years ago I counted over 40 studios that I'd worked in. 40.
Okay.
So
okay.
it's been more than that now because I've added some to that, and every studio that I went into worked. I mean, I've been in $1 million studios. I've been in closet studios, and I actually mean that literally, and they all worked.
They all work the same.
Yeah. Well, sometimes they work a little different.
Yeah.
Generally,
especially in the closet, it's like you can only turn so far. You got like chords like going every which way. I mean, but when you think about your beginning, when you first started, at a very young age, what actually like sparked that musical thing in you? Was it family? Did you just kind of just see someone or something that kind of just like made you say, I want to do music?
Well, I think it was a couple of things.
Okay.
actually probably more than a couple. I mean, for one, music was always in my house.
Okay.
You know, my mother sang, she played piano, she played a little guitar.
Oh.
My dad sang in a gospel quartet.
Stop it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I can remember at a very young age, and I don't remember how old, but very, very young, I got to go with my dad to this radio station and this quartet that he was singing with. They were singing live, probably on a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And I got to go, and I remember my dad saying, "Now you have to be really quiet." And I said, "Yes, sir."
Okay.
So, but none of these were professional.
Okay.
But you know, listening to the radio growing up, and I started noticing, what are those things? Oh, those are drums. And then we always had a Christmas parade in my hometown of Jonesboro, Arkansas, big thriving metropolis. And the year before junior high, all of these bands, marching bands, would come by and drummers playing cadences. I thought my heart was just going to jump out of my chest. It's like, I gotta do that.
Yes,
I've got to do that. I've got to do that. So when they came around and brought a little band from the junior high, played different instruments to show all the elementary school students who wanted to sign up for band what instruments they could play. They said, "Now you have 3 choices."
Oh, okay. Here we go.
Okay.
Here we go.
So you list down 3 choices. You know, your first choice, your second choice, your third choice. I put drums, drums, and drums.
Making all the noise. Let's go.
You weren't supposed to do that,
Right.
But I did it, and I got to do that, and so I was in school band, you know, junior high and high school, and in college. I was a music major in college.
Wow. What college did you attend?
Well, I went to Arkansas State University.
Okay.
And then I did some classes at the University of New Orleans, not right next to each other, kind of Arkansas State, then kind of went out and played around the country for a bunch of years, and then took some classes at University of New Orleans when I moved to New Orleans.
Wow. So ultimately, when you think about your life, music has like really been that go-to for you, that safe place for you. Do you ever remember your very first song that you just was like, this is the one I'm going to get my solo? Or did you just take a solo?
Oh, well.
Uh-oh.
Wipeout.
Wipe? Okay.
I mean, there you go. I think someone told me I had the title of being able to play Wipeout the longest of all the drummers in my hometown.
What?
That's a big deal when you're in junior high. So,
you know, when you go back and you think of how far you've come to now Grammy Award winning, even working with the youth that are coming out right now to this day, did you ever like see yourself being fully in music, like from when you first said, you know, drums, I'm breaking all the rules right now, but I'm going to be a drummer. This is like did you ever see yourself, envision yourself?
Oh,
here.
Probably always.
I love that.
You know, and I do mean it. That doesn't mean I knew how to get into it, because I didn't.
Right.
I didn't know how. But yeah, you know, as I mentioned to you earlier, you know, I got my first airplay at age 14.
Yes, come on now.
With my band that won first place in our talent show at the junior high. Mm-hmm. And you know, when you're 14, I mean, it was cool, but you don't really realize what a big deal that was. I go back now and I go, you know, that was a pretty big deal.
At 14, that's right.
But I would go back to that studio when I was in college, and I would just hang out. And every once in a while, I remember the drummer that was playing on most of the records that was coming out there. He was several years older than me, and boy, I don't want to say he was like my idol, because I don't mean that, but I really looked up to him. And I remember in junior high going to a jazz concert at Arkansas State, and he was the drummer in the big band. It was set up on a riser. It was like, wow, this is so cool.
This is it.
But I stopped by the studio, and there was a session going on, and
Yeah.
he's playing drums. His name was Mike,
Mhm.
overall. And they took a break, and Mike said, "Man, I hear bongos on this song."
Hmm.
And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Do you want to play drums, and I'll play bongos?" I said, "Oh, yeah."
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I did, and I had heard them rehearsing this.
Right.
So I
Kind of already.
Yeah, so I mean, we did like maybe 2 takes, and they said, "Okay, that's it."
Wow.
And then I don't know, a month or so later, I'm driving to class and I'm listening to the local radio station. It's on the radio,
Wow.
and it's just like, yes,
That's it.
So
Question: what did your parents think? Like, what was that conversation like?
that conversation actually really never took place,
Oh.
and I think I know why.
Mm-hmm.
It's because they didn't have to support me.
Mm.
I knew that you have to do music business as well as as playing. So I just worked in bands that actually worked and made money.
Come on,
And then when I left,
Right.
I was a hustler in that sense. I mean, I'd go around. I met every booking agency and booking agent that I knew of
right
in Memphis,
Wow.
because Jonesboro was 70 miles from Memphis. So I grew up going to Memphis. I mean, I had family there,
I see.
and I just kept knocking on doors. Most of the doors people said no, thank you, but no.
Right.
And it's like, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And go to the next.
That's right.
I never really accepted no. I mean, I accepted no in that situation,
Yeah.
but it's like, there's always somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And I do remember at one point thinking, because someone did ask me, what makes you think that you can survive in this business? What makes you think that you can make it? Which was a very legitimate question.
Yes.
I said, I don't know. However, I do know this. I do not want to not do this, get to a point where I'm an old man and look back and go, what if? So I hung in there. Everything comes with a price tag.
Yes, sir.
And this, sometimes, you read all these credits and it all sounds like, oh, wow, boy, you've had it easy. Not really.
Come on now.
Because, there were a lot of downtimes along
sir.
the way that, in some respects, the easiest thing would be to say to quit, except I never really considered that for more than about a minute and a half.
Come on now.
40
years. 40 years, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, and still, just recently, you mixed Al Green's greatest hits in Dolby Atmos.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I just want to say shout out to my grandmother, the beautiful, the amazing Miss Betty Mitchell. My grandmother is a huge Al Green fan. So I know she's going to love this interview. So could you just say hi to my grandmother just for...
Hello, grandmother.
All right, girl. Hey, girl. Now, goosebumps. What was that experience like reimagining something so timeless and like that modern soundscape? Like, let's talk about that. 'Cause
Okay.
It's 2025, child. Al Green.
Well, let me give you a little background.
Okay.
How this came to be. I did a lot of work for the record company like 20 years ago that bought the Al Green masters, and I'm gonna go into all the little nerdy details about
love it.
But I ended up with the multi-track masters on 13 Al Green songs, which included the greatest hits. And I had worked with, I'd actually gone to Hollywood with the guy who was running the record company like 20 years ago to meet to talk about like doing some upgrading on the greatest hits.
Okay.
And so I met, at that time, EMI had the distribution on it. And anyway, that did not work out. But I had this history of knowing the things that they liked about it, the things that they thought maybe could be improved. Mm-hmm. And then the Dolby Atmos came about. And the original producer on all that was a man named Willie Mitchell. And these were all recorded in Memphis. Mm-hmm. And of course, I lived in Memphis over 25 years. And I knew Willie. And he was someone that I always had tremendous respect for. And we weren't close friends, but every time I saw him, he was so nice to me. Mm. So I look at this. I had met Al even years before that, one evening. Was a Memphis chapter of the Grammys event, and Al was there. And I was the president at that time. So I met him, and we talked. But, you know, we know each other, but I know a lot more about him than he knows about me. Right. But then and the Atmos thing was new, and I thought, you know what, let me play with this. So I started with Let's Stay Together. And it's like, okay, what can I do to make this sound more relevant today to this absolutely classic record that I have tremendous respect for. Yes, sir. So I went about attempting to do that, and I won't bore these people with all these little technical things. I did a lot of little things. However, that's all their performances. You know, I did nothing, and I was always referencing the original because I did not want to lose the attitude and the feel of those records. You know, doing something like that, on one hand, it's like, wow, this is so cool. And on the other hand, it's like, mess this up and the whole world is going to crucify you, you know, as far as credits. And that was always in the back of my mind, you know, when I was doing it. But, you know, eventually, you know, we got it all done. I turned it into the record company. There were no revisions. They said, cool.
What? Wow.
And then Willie Mitchell's son or grandson, I'm not sure which he is, Boo Mitchell. I ran into him last summer. Yes. And he knew I was doing this because he and I, we'd met. We were friends. Mm-hmm. And I saw him in New Orleans when I saw you guys there at that same event, that block party that we were all at. Yes. I said, you know that this is out, because I turned it in months before it was actually released. Mm-hmm. And he said, yeah, I know. I said, have you heard it? He said, yeah. I said, what do you think? He says, awesome. It's like, whew,
oh my goodness.
A little, you know, validation, you know, from the family.
Wow.
So that's kind of.
How powerful is that? As you said, the classics. I mean, you literally just taking your time and just using your gift and the value of the music all coming together just to get an appreciation from the bloodline itself. Yeah. It's powerful, Danny.
Well, I mean, first of all, you know, I use the word blessing a lot because it's the word I use a lot. Yes, sir. Come on now. But, I mean, you know, not everybody gets to do that. That's right. But I also took it as a responsibility.
Yes, sir.
You know, and I can't even tell you how much, again, because I knew Willie a lot better than I know Al. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to mess up his baby.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
So there's many reasons I wanted it to be great. I mean, for one, anytime you do anything, you want it to be the best that you can do. Right. But, you know, just knowing... I mean, I've been in that studio where they recorded all of that. So I just kind of up here at times just kind of went there. And by the way, it looks the same now as it did 30 or 40 years ago.
Wow.
they haven't changed anything.
Talk about authentic, guys.
Oh,
look.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of authentic artists, with artists like Etta James, Pitbull, and the Yellow Jackets, how do you tap into each artist's unique sound while keeping your own fingerprint on the final product?
You know, the only fingerprint I want to have is that when somebody listens to it, they go, "Wow, this is good." I I really don't try to put like the Danny stamp on anything. I just want it to be really good. I think that's why and how I get to do a lot of different styles of music, because it is about the artist.
That's right.
I mean, I know some producers who their whole work is, okay, this is my sound.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm not putting that down at all. It's just that's not what I do.
Right.
I would rather take an artist and dig in deep to and pull out what I think is the best out of them, not just what a particular style or this is my sound. I think, having a sound certainly can be a great thing. It can certainly sometimes be a dated thing. And I don't try to make records for necessarily just today, but make one that's the best I know how to make for 10 years from now,
That's right.
20 years
That's
from
right.
now.
Timeless. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Even as a drummer and an artist who's toured the U.S. with your bands and abroad and others, what's one story from the road you'll never forget? Here we go. Let's go back, y'all. Here we go.
Okay.
Okay. He had to fix the vest on that one.
There are a few, of course.
Come on, Danny.
Okay.
Okay.
I get a kick out of telling this.
Okay.
The first time I played with Bo Diddley.
Okay.
I was doing a lot of touring with an artist named Bobby Vee, who had a lot of hits back out in the 60s. And every once in a while, we would play these, what we referred to as oldie shows. There'd be a good zillion, different artists on the bill. And every once in a while, Bobby would call me and say, "Hey, listen, would you guys like to pick up some extra money backing up some other artists?" Young musician, oh yeah, we want to do this. So one of them was Bo Diddley. So this was somewhere up in Ohio. It was at a, in their season, it was like a horse track. But this was off season, and they had a big stage set up in the center, and they were having concerts there. So they said, "Okay, you have a rehearsal with Bo Diddley at 3:00." So we said, "Okay," in the jockeys' quarters. That's where all the dressing areas were. And so we're there, and Bo walks in right on time, 3:00. Very nice, very cordial. We all shake hands, and he says, "Okay, great, guys. Well, my cab's waiting. I'll see you tonight." We said, "Okay." So he leaves, and we're going, "Rehearsal. Okay." Well, now, I played with a lot of people back in those days, and sometimes it was not too much more than a talk through, or we would rehearse a few songs, and then the rest of it is like, heads up.
Right.
And I mean, I played with the Drifters and the Coasters and the Platters and, all those groups from that time period. So we were, the group that I had from Memphis that at the time was called Montage.
Okay.
We were pretty used to doing that sort of thing. But so anyway, it gets to be that night, and we see Bo, we're speaking, and "Hey, how you doing? Good to see you." And I keep thinking, okay, I'm going to be really available here, so you're going to tell me what we're going to do.
Right.
Except that he doesn't. And then finally, we're like the next act up. And he still hasn't told us anything. And I said, "Bo, you want to tell me what we're going to do?" And he said, well, and he named off a couple of titles that actually I didn't really know.
Right.
But this is the classic, and this is a quote.
Okay.
He said, "Just watch my foot and everything be beautiful." Those were my instructions. So we go out there, and I'm sitting out on the drums, and sitting on a stage playing to a lot of people is not a new thing to me at this time. But not really having any idea what I'm about to do.
Yeah.
That was kind of new. And so they said, "Ladies and gentlemen, Bo Diddley." So Bo walks out. That rectangle guitar, if you remember that. So he walks out and just kind of oblivious to the audience out there. And he plugs into the amp, and and he turns around, he looks at me, he goes back to the front, and he's so, oh, I know. Oh, before that, I said, do you want me to do this whole Bo Diddley thing? He said, no, man, don't worry about all that. He said, just groove and have fun. So he comes in with his guitar part, and I just, and then eventually the set was over, and we're through, and he said, man, you guys did great. It's like, I was kind of, I kind of didn't know what, I was still a little in awe, of him. And, but I noticed this thing, because I had seen Jimi Hendrix live. Right. And I'm seeing Bo do these same things, movements that I saw Hendrix, and it's like, whoa.
Man.
Bo didn't get that from Hendrix. Hendrix got that from Bo.
I had to let him say it. But just wash my feet and everything's going to be
everything be beautiful.
Everything be beautiful. Oh, my gosh. Talk about moments. Oh, wow. That was a good one. You've been a part of the Grammy-winning projects as well. What did those moments mean to you, and how did they influence your work today?
Well, I'm not sure they influence today. I don't really do things any differently. You know, I've only had, and I don't have a Grammy, so I wasn't that high on the totem pole. But one of the years in the blues category, I had 2 nominations in the same category. And I haven't had that many. And when you have 2 in the same category in the same year, it's just like, oh, man, because not everybody's, and one of them won, and it was on Stevie Ray Vaughan. But in that same category, I was nominated for Bobby Bluebland. And they were in the same blues category. Yeah. So I was actually sitting with the producer for Bobby Bluebland when Stevie Ray won. So it was kind of like, you know, but, you know, I mean, just getting to work with, you know, like those 2 guys.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've already said some things about Stevie, but, or maybe that was earlier.
But and let's not miss that moment too, because that was very special. Now, you and Stevie Ray Vaughan had a moment, and let's talk about that moment when you actually got a chance to play the instrument. Well, let's talk about it.
We were out in the studio.
Yeah.
And it was just at that moment, it was just the 2 of us that was there, and his guitar was sitting there on a stand. And I said, hey, Stevie, do you mind if I play your guitar? And he said, no, I don't mind. Go ahead. So I just pick up and, you know, I play guitar. You know, sometimes I'm an okay player. Right. But then I don't play for a long time, and that's when I really am playing at the guitar. But it kind of was a non-event. At the time, it seems like maybe it was a bigger deal. And I've talked to some people, especially young guitar players. They said, you did what? I said, well, yeah, I just picked it up and I played it, and it was like, you know, he played very heavy gauge, strings on the guitar. And then I put it back on the stand. I said, thanks. And
not everybody gets, like you said, not too many people can tell that story. That's heavy.
Well, you know, Stevie was, he was a nice guy. I liked him. Before this project, I'd only heard some of his recordings, you know, on the radio, and I kind of expected, because he was such an aggressive player, and I expected kind of an aggressive guy, and he wasn't that at all. He was actually very soft spoken. Now, don't interpret that as being he was a pushover. No. I mean, he went at his rate of speed as far as getting things done. But, you know, and talk about a man that was just dedicated to music. I called him, this was after the sessions. I called him once at home when I knew we were nominated for a Grammy. And I said, hey, are you going to the Grammys? Because I was planning to be there. And he said, no, man, I'm working on this record with my brother. He said, I can't be bothered with that. You know, so he didn't go. He was in the studio working on a record with his brother, which everybody knows about now. But no, he didn't. You know, he didn't.
That just wasn't the time or the place he was working.
Yeah, you know, I never felt like, you know, any of this star stuff about him. You know,
Right.
I mean, he was just. He could be funny.
Mm-hmm.
But so anyway, all I can say is I liked him.
Wow. I love that. Now, after decades of music, what still excites you about sitting behind the console or behind the drums even?
Well, playing or making really good music that feels great.
That's
You know,
it.
still being able to get goosebumps.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, that's it. To me, and I think I've been this way for a very, 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 very long time. But and so what I'm about to say, it's just been part of me for a long time. But if what you're doing is not connecting with somebody on an emotional level,
Right.
then it's just a bunch of notes. And I've been on records that were just a bunch of notes. And I've been on great records with great artists, and I know what greatness is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I choose to be. And that doesn't mean that they were all big stars,
Okay.
because, you know, it's one thing to be a star, it's another thing to be give great performances and be really good. But for whatever reason, it could be a number of reasons, somebody is not, you know, on that level of a Patty or Stevie Ray Vaughan or something like that. But when they just give, there was a singer from Louisiana. Oh gosh, never forget. What's his name? This guy was great, but he never really made it, you know, on a national level. But I mean, seriously good. So that's what excites me. And if I'm not hearing it, then especially if I'm a producer, it's like, okay, what can I do? Right. What can I say? What can I do to make this come off better?
Yeah.
You know, even I start to say just as an engineer, not like it's just being an engineer, but, you know, a good engineer by working on the headphone mix for a singer or anyone, but we'll say singers, can make a tremendous difference.
Amen.
Now, a lot of people have these, you know, individual controls, and sometimes I take those away from some people. I had this one singer, he spent the whole time singing, doing the controls, and I said, stop doing this. You know, you're supposed to be singing.
Singing, that's right.
You know, so I gave him a mix. But there was a thing engineers, I mean, we used to do when we controlled all the headphone mix. If a singer's singing sharp, it's like they probably can't hear themselves well enough. So give them a little bit more in the headphone mix. If they're singing flat, maybe they're hearing too much of themselves. Pull it back. You don't tell people what you're doing, but you do those things, and those things, you know, help. So, you know, getting back to what, you know, your question of what do I do when I sit behind, it's like, okay, what can I do to make this better? I also love it when a mix finally comes together.
Yes.
You know, because I can sit there and I can work for a long time, and all of a sudden, for me, and it's like subconscious at first, when I'm doing this, it's like, okay, I'm either there or I'm almost there, because this is now moving me.
Yes.
And if it's not, my work's not done.
Come on. And you know what? I think this is a really good time where we can kind of just dibble into a little bit when artists think that they can just go record a song, let a producer like do a couple of levels, and they say, oh, it's mixed, it's mastered, it's ready to go, send it off. Could you go through just a simple project, just standard of a single? Like what are the correct steps before you can say a single is finished? Coming from the man himself, Mr. Danny Jones.
Well, it's finished when all the boxes are checked. And you go, well, okay, what are the boxes? Okay. Let's start with how does it make me feel?
Okay.
If it doesn't make me feel very good, we're not done yet. you have to have things like, okay, is there enough bass? Is there enough, enough drums? Or do you hear the vocal well enough? I mean, all those things are also important, but it still has to come together as something that, speaks to a listener one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And again, sometimes it can be a journey in that mixing process, figuring out the best combination.
Right.
I used to work for Allen Toussaint. He was absolutely one of my heroes. Allen told me one time, first of all, Allen was never there when I mixed. I mean, one time I mixed a jingle with him that he sat there. Every other time, every record that we did, he'd say, call me when you have something for me to listen to. And that's what I would do. But the only instructions he ever gave me, he said, look, when you're going in through all that stuff, no matter how we've been listening to this, if you find something in there that's just really cool, let it shine.
Let it shine. See? Now, before an artist, like if an artist wants to do a single, they write the song, they find a producer to do the music. Before it gets to you, how many people should this single go through before it gets to the engineer, which is basically the final?
Yeah, well, it depends.
Okay.
If you're talking one song, I mean, it could be, if you had 6 or 8 people playing on it, it could be that. It could be someone has programmed everything.
Okay.
And with a few overdubs. I just did a smooth jazz thing not too long ago, and everything was programmed, I think, except the saxophone solo and the piano solo.
Wow.
But all the drums and the bass, they were programmed. That is sometimes easier and quicker to mix than if it was, cut live with a lot of musicians. But that's a generalization because there's always exceptions.
Right.
To that. But, I've had projects that a gazillion people were involved in, and some that 2 or 3 people maybe, right. and that's it. So I hadn't really thought about that much, really.
Wow.
You see enough of these, you just go, oh, this is what it is.
Right.
So I go down this path, for doing it.
When you're thinking even of paths, and you working with in New Orleans for quite some time for a very special festival, let's talk about your work and how long you've been doing this amazing job with so many millions of people attend this event. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I guess we're talking about the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival.
Yes, we are. How many years have you been a part of this amazing, historic time?
Originally, back in the 80s, when I still worked for Allen Toussaint,
okay,
I would go there and I would mix his shows.
Okay. Back in the 80s.
Back in the 80s.
Okay.
Then I did not do this until, 5 or 6 years ago. Wow. And Reggie Toussaint, who is Allen's son, Reggie was my assistant when he was in high school, when I worked for his dad. So we've known each other a long time, and we've stayed friends, through the years. And he came over to a studio I was working out of several years ago in Houston, and because after Katrina, Reggie's family moved in this area.
Correct.
And so he's here, he's in New Orleans, and he works for the Jazz and Heritage Festival.
Okay.
He's over production. So he brought a vinyl acetate by to listen to of some things that Allen had recorded when he was with Warner Brothers to the studio. And I played him some things that I had done, including this one jazz project. And then Reggie called me, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks after that, and he says, hey, do you still know how to mix jazz? And I said, well, I can probably read a book. And I said, why do you ask? And he says, well, I need someone to mix the jazz stage. And I said, well, what are the dates? And I think I was driving in the car. I said, I don't have my calendar in front of me. I'm driving.
Right.
I said, send me the dates and let me look at my calendar and I'll call you tomorrow. Which I looked and I was open during that time. And I said, yeah, be happy to do it. And that was probably 2018, 2019, somewhere in there. Wow. And I've been doing that ever since, with the exception of the COVID time period. And, I didn't go back for that. But, every year I kind of wonder if they're going to ask me. But so far,
they keep calling you back. Now, in one day, how many artists do you have to mix in one day at the Jazz Heritage Festival?
6.
Okay.
And that's from 11 to 7.
11 to 7. We're talking about multiple instruments, people, just everything.
Yeah, and what's great about that, of course, I can only speak to my stage. There are 13 stages at that festival. It's not small.
Right. Not just,
But I'm in what is referred to as the jazz tent.
Yes, Lord.
And there's a crew of 2 or 3 to move things on stage. The sound company has 3 people, which includes the monitor mixer, and these guys are top notch at what they do. But there's 20 minutes between acts.
Wow.
I mean, one stops, the next one starts. And it could be a trio, and the next one could have 35 people on stage.
Wow.
And then the next one could have 6 people on stage. And it's not an easy job. Is it enjoyable and is there a lot of great music? Oh, absolutely. Is there pressure? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, one artist, and it was their fault, started 10 minutes late and they got booed.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yes.
I'm not going to say no names, but make sure you get there early rather than on time.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? That's right.
But again, those people, I mean, the backstage manager, the stage manager,
That's awesome.
These guys are wonderful.
Yeah.
And we are a team.
There you go.
I love working with these guys.
That's awesome. There you go, guys. Well, where can people find you and support you and just keep up with all of the amazing work you're doing to this very day?
Okay. Well, I do have a website, DannyJonesProductions.com. And that's what productions with an S, DannyJonesProductions.com. I also now have a YouTube channel.
What? Come on, Danny.
Well, and this is pretty new. This has only been around for a few weeks. And I have a few videos of some interviews that I have done.
Okay.
But then also, if you go to the playlist section, I have a whole bunch of stuff that I've done that just, takes you back to the videos that are on YouTube. And I probably have, maybe 50 on those.
Just 50.
Something like that.
Yeah.
The newest stuff is not out there yet. Because I have 2 or 3 projects that I'm chomping at the bit to release because I think they're really good, and for whatever reasons, they just haven't been out.
But they're coming though, right?
Oh, they're coming.
Oh, they're
absolutely.
Coming. Speaking of coming up right now, there are some younger artists, some newer music that you're working on with some artists. Let's give a shout out to those artists that you're working with right now.
Well, it's a group that's out of Miami, Florida, called 100 Meter Scream.
All right.
And I've cut 2 songs on that group so far.
Okay.
And I'm pretty happy with that. And then 2 brothers from North Carolina, Jeremiah McKinley.
Nice.
They're sort of an Americana country. Americana is kind of almost a catch-all phrase these days. But these guys are great songwriters and singers, and I'm pretty excited about that. And that could be just days from being released. They're just trying to they got a new website that they're working on.
Yes.
Who else am I working with? I've had people talk to me about mixing some projects. I won't mention any names.
Wait a minute. Are you looking at me? Well, that is definitely true. We are definitely looking to work with the amazing Danny Jones soon, guys. So stay tuned. I didn't think you were going to bring that up, Danny.
Yeah,
Yes.
not that I'm trying to put any pressure on anybody, but
I love it. I love it, Danny.
and there's a couple of other groups. There's a
For
group out
sure.
of Colorado and another group out of Memphis that I worked with some years ago that we're talking about doing another project together.
Fire. Fire. I love it. Danny, I think it's almost time to play a game. Do you want to play a game with me, Danny?
Oh, of course, I think.
Of course, I think. Guys, it is time to play a game with the one and only Danny Jones. Danny, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to ask you a question, give you a few options, and you just give me the correct answer. No pressure. Okay. I think this first one would be like super easy for you. What's the number one must-have comfort food most musicians request on their rider while on tour? Is it A, spaghetti and meatballs, B, hot wings, C, mac and cheese, or D, tacos?
Of course, this depends on who's on tour.
Come on, Danny.
I don't know. I'll go tacos.
Final answer. Do you want to take some help from Mr. Iconix and DJ Brandon? Okay, let me give you the options again. It's
Okay.
A, spaghetti and meatballs, B, hot wings, C, mac and cheese, or D, tacos.
Yes. See, all I know is
Yeah.
I know people that would have chosen each of those.
Okay.
I know people love mac and cheese, but hot wings sounds pretty big deal too.
Hot wings sounds pretty good too. Final answer?
Yeah. Final answer is I don't know.
It would definitely be mac and cheese though.
Okay. Okay.
She was like, yep, mac and cheese. That's right. All right, here we go. Which U.S. city is famous for both its live music scene and its hot chicken? Is it A, Memphis, B, Nashville, C, Austin, or D, Atlanta?
Hot chicken.
It's live music scene and it's hot chicken.
Well, I would say it's either Austin or Atlanta.
Okay. You got to choose one, Danny?
Okay, I'll go with Austin.
Final answer?
Final answer.
We're going to keep going. That is incorrect. It's Nashville. Look at. Use your help, Danny.
Hot
But Danny
chicken?
was like, I know what this is. That's okay. We got you. Here we go. This is going to be a fun one. What classic gas station snack has saved many musicians on long drives between gigs? Is it A, Slim Jim, B, Pop-Tarts, C, sour gummies, or D, beef jerky?
I don't know. It's got to be either Slim Jims or beef jerky. I'm so committal.
Okay. Beef jerky is correct.
Okay.
I didn't even make you choose. That's because I love you, Danny. Good job. Here we go. All right, now here we go. Which city is widely recognized as the birthplace of jazz and a top food destination with dishes like gumbo and crawfish? Is it A, New York,
Get out of here.
Get outta here.
You giving me that question?
B, Chicago, C, New Orleans, or D, St. Louis?
Well, all them other places are fine, but there's nothing like New Orleans.
Period, guys. That's right. Who that? Come on now. Danny, this has been so much fun, so amazing just having you here. Before we get ready to go, are there any words of encouragement you would like to leave to the listeners?
Yeah, don't give up.
Yeah.
Part of the reason I think I've been successful, if we'll use that word, is I showed up.
Come on.
Don't sit at home and think that everybody's just going to call you and demand to have you, because that's not going to happen.
That's right.
It's not going to happen to anybody
That's
in
right.
the beginning. But again, don't give up. Again, I'm a kid from small town Arkansas. And here I am, but I knocked on doors.
That's
and people
right.
said no. I said, thank you. And I moved on to the next. There's
That's
always
right.
another door. You just don't give up.
You just don't give up. Danny Jones, thank you so much for stopping by Iconix Radio. We love you so much. Thank you even for being a part of Springboard and giving so many amazing artists a knowledge. We didn't get a chance to hit on that, but before we get ready to go, let's talk about Springboard really briefly and how impactful you have been to Springboard.
Well, thank you, but I tell you what, that goes both ways.
Unbelievable.
You meet people.
Yes.
I mean, some of my clients I met at Springboard.
Come on.
But you go and gosh, there is so much information. I mean, I know what I know, and I'm happy. Whatever I know, I'm happy to give.
Right.
And I speak on panels, but I also sit and I listen to panels, and there's a lot of really smart people, and some of those smart people not only are on the panels, but are some of the artists there. You hear
Right.
some of the things that they're doing to generate income,
Yes.
to further their
yes.
careers, and you go, wow,
Yes.
that's pretty creative.
Yes.
So anybody that knows about Springboard, first of all, if you're an artist, you better know about Springboard.
You better know about Springboard. Barry Coffin, the entire team. I mean, Ron Fontenot, Miss Megan Coffin. I mean, oh my God, the list goes on and on. You.
If you need to further your career, you need to find Springboard.
That's right.
And you need to apply. And most people who try to sign up for this
Mm-hmm.
don't get accepted. I mean, there's things like, I know one time 700 artists signed up. They chose 100.
700?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I remember one year 450 applied and they accepted 50. So, and what that means from those of us who are mentors who go is that everybody there is already shown they're pretty special, or they wouldn't have made it past that first hurdle
Right.
of being accepted, to attend that. So, and we address everything in music business.
Yeah.
As far as promotion, it's not a music in terms of teaching you music, although when it comes to the synchronization, they do talk about that. Things
Right.
that you should do, things that you shouldn't do.
Right.
So anyway, I'm a huge fan.
Guys, Danny Jones. Woohoo! Thank you, Danny. High five again.
Thank you.
Guys, we will definitely see you soon. Remember, you can always catch some of Danny's amazing music he's got a chance to work on right here on Iconix Radio. And with that being said, we are Izzy out. Bye.